Welcome back to some new petty revenge stories, where people have small victories over those that wronged them. I hope you had a great day. The first story is called Be Nice. I work in a public library. One of our newer services we offer is Wi-Fi Point. It comes in a box, and once it's checked out, it's activated for 7 days based on a mobile carrier service. After 7 days it shuts off and has to be turned in and processed to turn on again. The Wi-Fi will not work after 7 days, and you can't get a new one until you turn in the old one. If you lose any part of it, you are fined and can check out a new one until it's paid or the part is returned. If you have any charges over a certain amount, you can't check anything out. We don't have late fees, but we do have lost and damaged item fees, so those can add up quickly. People can place items on hold and get added to a queue. If they don't pick the item up in 5 days, it goes to the next person in the queue. Generally, it's not a big deal, but there has been some ugly behavior over the Wi-Fi point. We have scripted responses for most issues. Queue today, when another staff member transferred a call to me, saying, "Please answer this, I can't." I used my sweetest voice to say our mandatory introduction, but the patron just said, "I don't care about your name. Do you have my Wi-Fi box? Can I get your name and birthday, please?" There are 2 accounts with the name and birthday, so I choose the first. It was an expired account with a large charge attached and no holds placed at all, so I checked the other account. And yes, a Wi-Fi point is currently checked out and a hold for another. She's number 200 and something in line. "It's not ready yet, ma'am. You are 2XX in the queue. I placed it a week ago. What is the hold up?" I just followed the script. Unfortunately, we only have so many Wi-Fi points available, and they are in high demand. For best practice, returning the boxes at the end of the 7-day checkout period will help the queue move quicker. I ain't driving all the way over to the library just to drop one off until I can get my next one. This is a crap system. Why don't you just get me more? I use my automatic response when people start yelling. You'll get the notification when your hold request is available for pickup. I want it now. If I go in and snatch one off the shelf, you can't stop me. We have a long holds queue, ma'am. They are all checked out or on hold for someone in the queue. What about those ones on the shelf? We discontinued the hopping offering on Wi-Fi points to make more available for the holds queue and better serve our patrons. It would better serve me if you just gave it to us. I need internet. All our library locations have free Wi-Fi available 24/7 in our outdoor rest areas and computers for public use during operations hours. She carried on with profanities for several minutes while I muted my phone. I'm looking at the 2 accounts and confirming it's the same person who somehow got 2 cards. It happens. There's a note in her record from 2 years ago that she confirmed all the items were damaged and she knew about it but was hostile to staff. I merged the 2 accounts. Her currently checked out items and holds are now combined with her old charges. I cheerily interrupted and told her if there was nothing else I could help her with, then she could check her account online at any time, and that she would get a notification about when her hold would be ready, but she'd have to pay the fine first. She freaked out and demanded what I meant, and I told her the list of items and charges and how she can't check out anything until the fine is paid. I had to deal with her for a few more minutes, but she had stopped the name calling and was near panic as I repeatedly told her there was nothing I could do about her charges. I could have put in a special case request to have them waived, but I didn't feel particularly generous. I added a second note to her account that the patron was hostile to staff, so nobody else would feel like doing it either. Be nice to your public servants. The next story is called Don't Mess with the DMV. When I was young, I worked at the DMV in an attempt to crush my soul enough to join the corporate world. One of the only joys of being in that place was the occasional funny or cool license plate that randomly showed up. Our state had a basic 3+3 pattern, 3 random letters or numbers, followed by a space to allow the state logo to appear, then 3 more letters or numbers. Every morning I'd flip through the stack of plates on my station, looking for funny things. We all did. Every time we found a really good one, it was the highlight of the day, something to share with coworkers and bring up at the dinner table when we got home that night. One day, a dude made it to the front of the queue of misery just as I finished up with a customer. I was about halfway down the line of stations and yelled the standard, "I can help you down here," at him. For some unknown reason, this set him off. He walked up to the nearest station and yelled back, "Why can't you help me down here?" Then he spent approximately 3 times the amount of time it would have taken to process his registration arguing with me about why I had to help him there instead of at my station. Because apparently the long hike was just too much for him. Eventually, for reasons I can't understand myself, I gave up and stepped on over to where he was standing. He was a total sourpuss the entire time too. Couldn't understand why it took me so long to get set up and log in. Every question got a sarcastic response. So as I'm filling in the form on that 1970s era green screen terminal, I noticed the next license plate on the stack. It's a doozy. It was cool and almost naughty. He sees it too. He's standing there, staring at it like a kid about to get the biggest lollipop in the candy store. I make the briefest of eye contact, casually move the cool plate to the bottom of the stack, and key in the numbers and letters from the boringly mundane next one. I could almost see the gears turning in his head. Does he complain? If he does, is he going to sound like a total baby because he didn't get the plate he wanted? Am I going to charge him extra for a custom plate if he asks me for it? But no, he just fumes silently as I finish up. I don't really remember rocking out to his car to verify the VIN, but I like to think I strutted just a little. The third story is called Printer Fun. I used to work in an office with Gary, who was the absolute worst. He hated that I was female and 10 years younger, but was technically his superior, and took every chance he got to avoid having to do things for me. He'd whacked his feet on anything I gave him, and if I asked for something by a certain day or time, he would complain to his boss, since he essentially saw us as peers. Eventually I stopped giving him anything but the work I absolutely couldn't do myself. He still hammed and hawed about it, until someone higher in the food chain reiterated that yes, he did in fact need to assist me with whatever totally appropriate request I had just made. Our office had one of those gigantic standalone printers, but I was the only one who thought to look up the manual online and understand it. So every time Gary and I were each printing something, I would knock his print job down in the queue. I once overheard Gary explaining to our department head Bill that he couldn't do anything because the printer was down, so I quickly reset it. When Gary and Bill looked at it again, I heard Bill say in an annoyed tone, "Well, it looks fine now," and asked Gary to hurry things up. Every chance I got, I stuck his print jobs in the back of the queue. At one point, when he bemoaned the fact that he was always dead last, I shrugged and suggested that he got to the office earlier. And he actually started coming in at 7:30 AM for a brief period of time. The most memorable thing I did was to switch Gary's print job to tray 4, which was considered the bad tray, since it was slightly out of alignment and tended to crease the paper. He accidentally printed what looked like an entire ream of creased hot pink literature for a board meeting. The last person using the tray had been printing breast cancer awareness flyers. The next story is called Lawyer Gets a Lesson. This was about 10 years ago. I used to rent a house. The landlord lived abroad, so his brother, nice guy, looked after maintenance, and the landlord's lawyer looked after the contract and legal stuff. I had the brother's phone number, as he was my point of contact if anything needed fixing. One winter, the boiler broke. This is in Northern Europe, so this is considered to be an emergency repair. I called the brother multiple times, but it always went straight to voicemail. It didn't even ring. I left a bunch of texts and spent the first night shivering under all the bedding in the house as temperatures outside approached freezing. The next morning I left more voicemails and texts, but by the afternoon still no response. By this point the temperature inside the house was around 7 degrees Celsius. I decided to take matters into my own hands and ring around for an engineer to fix it. They came that evening, diagnosed the problem, a worn out motor, removed the broken part, installed a new part and billed me for parts and labor. I texted the brother to let him know what I had done. A few days later, the brother finally responded and apologized for being out of touch. He had been on holiday. I said no major harm done, but I need reimbursement for the repair. He told me to call the lawyer and gave me his number. I called the lawyer and explained everything. He was like a brick wall. Totally unreasonable, unsympathetic to the situation and accusatory to me, saying that I had broken the terms of the tenancy agreement. I said that they had also violated the agreement by not responding to an emergency repair in a reasonable amount of time. Under the circumstances, I felt I had no choice and hoped we can come to sort of an arrangement. He said no. I asked whether we could split the bill. I pay for the labor and they pay for the part, which will remain in the boiler on the property indefinitely. He said no, and at that point said I should put this all down as a lesson learned and move on, and hung up on me. I was not very happy, to say the least. The bill was pretty significant, and I had effectively repaired their boiler for them free of charge. Not to mention the inconvenience and discomfort of being without heating in winter. I was looking at the engineer's bill, wondering what I could do. Then realized the bill has my name, my phone number and my signature on it, and part and its cost are clearly listed. I waited 8 months until the tenancy agreement expired, then moved out. I was planning to anyway. I called the same engineer and asked him to remove the motor from the boiler. He questioned why, but I talked around it, paid him cash and all was good. It obviously cost me more money, but ended up being totally worth it. When I moved out the next day, I made sure everything was spotless and left the property like a perfect tenant. The brother came to inspect the property. He had a cursory look around to check nothing was obviously damaged, then bid me goodbye and I gave him the keys. Thankfully he didn't check whether the boiler was working. But why would he? He knows I would have informed him immediately had it broken again. Either way, the security deposit landed back in my account a few days later. A couple of months went by, and then I got a text from the brother asking if the boiler had been working okay when I left. I said yeah. Why? No response. The next day I got a phone call from the lawyer. He was furious. Did you remove the motor from the boiler? Yes. Why? The lawyer started a rant about damage to the landlord's property, etc. I just said, sorry, bit busy right now. Please put all of this in writing to my email, and hung up. Later that day I got a very long ranty email threatening legal action. He obviously took some time to put it together, but honestly it reeked of intimidation tactics. I waited a day or so, just to be annoying, then replied, Dear lawyer, thank you for your email. Please find attached a document that proves that the boiler motor in question is my own personal property. I recommend you put this all down as a lesson learned and move on. I attached the engineer's original bill and clicked send. Never heard back. To this day I'm not 100% sure I was legally in the clear, but it was definitely worth the risk, knowing that they had to pay for it in the end. The last story is called Burning a Bridge. Just note that doing this has probably permanently blacklisted me from working for this company, ever. But this economy is a big world. It was in an industry I had no experience in, so I'm not exactly worried. I applied to a job. This job is a B2B job in some industry I have never worked in before, but I do have lots of B2B experience. Then one day, I get a rejection email that said, since you missed your scheduled interview, we are removing you from consideration. Now, if they would have used any other way to reject me, or any other reason, or even none, that would be fair. But there was no interview. I even checked. I searched my phone, I searched my email, and I had 2 emails from this company. Thanked me for applying, rejecting me for not showing up to the interview. So of course, I'm annoyed. I consider myself a very organized, punctual individual. I also get really annoyed when I get in trouble for something that I didn't do. In this case, I felt it was wrong that I was being rejected for an interview. That was never scheduled. Good news though, I had already been in my new job, so that's nice. So I can afford to be petty. The email was from a no reply email, but it had a name. I found that person on LinkedIn and reached out to them. No response. So then I figured out who that person's boss was. Same deal. No response. Strange. I'd expect HR folks to check LinkedIn. After some thought, I went back to the job I was being hired for X region in Y product group. B2B. The sales director has to be on LinkedIn, right? You'd be correct. He was. So I sent him a message. Mr. Director, I am excited to work for you. I think X region is poised for massive growth based upon Z factor, and I feel you guys have a unique competitive advantage in the Y product group. And I'd love to accelerate the amazing growth you're going to be a part of. The sales director sent me a PM, asking for my number. We had a brief chat. He was pumped. I pointed out I figured out he was the decision maker for the role. I did the research on his product in his region and why it's set for massive growth, and that is exactly what you want in a hunter when it comes to B2B. He agreed. Sweet. He then said he was going to get me an interview with HR and himself, and we scheduled it. On the invite, I see the same lady that rejected me for not showing up to the fake interview was going to be on the call. We get on the call, it's going well. Let's call the lady Sarah. Sarah, quick question. Have you ever scheduled an interview with me? No. So, Sarah, you didn't schedule an interview with me before, right? Yes, I'm positive. So, Sarah, I didn't miss an interview with you before, have I? She laughs. No, you didn't. The sales director is confused. Sarah, you sent me an email saying I was rejected from this position for not showing up to my interview, despite the fact we never scheduled one. Sarah, confused, says, oh, that must have been a misclick. I understand. Mistakes happen. I'm glad you understand. I do. Well, hey, look, I appreciate your time, but I just wanted to have a chat with Sarah. I'm not interested in this position. Shocked, the sales director says, excuse me? Yeah, I just wanted to have a chat with HR on why they rejected me over not showing up to an interview that was never scheduled. I could tell they were both very angry at me, so I thanked them for their time and left the meeting. Radio silence from them. I'm super confident the sales director had many choice words for me. I'm sure Sarah thinks I'm a jerk. I'm also confident I'm on the blacklist, both for this role and any other role in the future. But sometimes you just need to get your jab in. Thanks for watching the video to the end. I hope you enjoyed it. Please don't forget to leave a like, comment and subscribe. And if you have time, watch another one of my videos. And now, I hope you have a great day. See you soon. Bye bye.